News with Gina.
The news with Gina Grad.
Both Democratic and Republican governors on Sunday called out Donald Trump over his tweets to liberate states locked down to slow the spread of COVID-19. On Friday, Trump sent out tweets saying, "Liberate Minnesota!" ! "Liberate Michigan!" "Liberate Virginia!" and "Save your great Second Amendment. It's under siege!" ! Which was a little bit of a confusing message as the president, with these stay-at-home orders. Friday, Governor Jay Inslee, he's a Democrat, said that these were unhinged rantings and calls for people to liberate states could also lead to violence. Republican Governor Larry Hogan of Maryland, a state where protests against the lockdown took place, also questioned Trump's tweets. He said he didn't think it was helpful for the president to encourage demonstrations and encourage people to go against the president's own policy. So I think a little bit of confusion over the weekend.
Well, he shouldn't be doing that, but we're going to have to get out soon. Whatever we thought was happening, the numbers aren't happening like we thought. Maybe that's because of this. We'll have to find that out. But there's no reason why healthy young people in certain areas, Manhattan shut down. You take the state of New York. Mm-hmm. Manhattan needs to be shut down, but Syracuse doesn't need to be shut down. Right. It's a completely different topography is completely different. You go, and I've been to Syracuse. I think Drew and I played Syracuse once, and I've been to upstate New York around Cornell. God, I'm trying to think of where we played. We didn't play Cornell. We played around there. But anyway, I've been to that region. It is as far away from Manhattan as you could possibly get. Manhattan obviously is like Tokyo, and upstate New York is just rural and spread out. So spread it out. So go ahead and make some rules. Like, okay, hey, if you live in Manhattan or one of the boroughs, we're remaining this lockdown things, quarantining things continued. If you live in another part of New York, then it's not. With right. restrictions or whatever it is. It's now, I think the beginning has to be knee jerk, but the beginning is always knee jerk. You know what I mean? Like you have to go and I don't really blame, it's funny. Like we're really hard on ourselves when we go like, Japanese American internment camps. That was horrible. That's like, it was horrible, but it was a knee jerk. We got bombed. The Japanese bombed us. We're freaked out and we made the wrong call, which you do. When you're jerking your knee, you jerk it into your nutsack half the time. But once we're done, once the dust has settled on Pearl Harbor and we get a little bit into the war effort, now you have to stop and you have to start making decisions. And so the first knee jerk is lock it down everywhere all the time. Understood. Okay. Now we're graduating. We're getting out of that fog of war, and we're now going into phase 2. But there has to be a phase 2. We have to start thinking about who is healthy, who this is affecting, who can carry on, because there's going to be a price to pay from all the people doing what they're doing. This is going to be a lot of depression and drug addiction and spousal abuse and all the things we don't want are going to start kicking in. So let's figure this out. They already are. So let's figure it out. There's really no reason if you look at us in SoCal and where we live and our age and so on and so forth. We shouldn't be doing what New York City is doing. We should be figuring this out. All right.
One size doesn't necessarily fit all, especially once you're a month out from the initial, panic.
Well, how could it? Just look at the transportation system in Manhattan. I don't know when the last time in SoCal, I'm trying to think of the last time I was on a piece of public transportation. And if the answer is not really my adult, I know there's people that went to the Staples Center from, NoHo or something, but I haven't been on a piece of public transportation in Los Angeles in 30 years. So I don't know just that alone. I'm alone in my car. I drive alone into my shop, just versus people packed into a subway car. I mean, just for that alone, it's completely different.
Even Fauci said those are just mobile petri dishes. I mean, if you really want to get sick, you're going to step in and out of those subway stations. I just sent something to Chris and Kaylin to put up. I don't know if this is real, because how could it be? I think someone just probably made it and it's circulating around the internet. Somebody sent it to me. Of course, I think this is anywhere near official, but there are these little badges that are being sent all over the internet, and it says COVID-19 lockdown protester. So it's a little card that you can carry, and it says, to demonstrate my commitment to my freedoms and to compensate for the extra burden I am putting on the U.S. medical system, I hereby decline medical treatment for COVID-19 related medical conditions. And then there's a place for a witness and yourself to sign. I doubt that.
I think that's satirical, but it's still very fun.
But I'm
it's
saying,
very funny.
Put your money where your mouth is. It's like if you're not afraid of this happening to you, then if something, God forbid, happens, then you're gonna have to go home and deal with it, because they're literally nurses standing in the middle of the street blocking cars, saying, "Please go home. Our days are long enough." Well,
I'd sign one of those cards. I'm not. It's pre-existing conditions and certain age, and once you get out of that, your chances go way, way, way down. So,
well, in that sense, we need to lock off Boca, parts of Miami, parts where the Jews go to retire,
yes.
And we can think about opening up other parts of Florida.
Yeah, hopefully this doctor we'll have on tomorrow will give you some pretty revolutionary stuff with this sort of triple cocktail he's put together that approaches it in a little different way, which is, and I'll let him speak, but as I understand it, he's helped, I think, about 1,450 patients.
My God. He
puts them on the zinc, chloroquine, and the zithromycin or whatever the
Z-Pack.
So he does the triple cocktail, but his thing is he doesn't wait for their symptoms to come. He puts them on it the second anything presents or they test positive or anything. If
you test positive, you're just someone with shortness of breath and you test positive. You're not being hospitalized. And
so formally what they'd say is you think you have this, go home and drink Gatorade and see if it gets worse. If it gets worse, we'll check you in.
Right.
Well, what he's doing is he's hitting them with it right now.
Wow.
So you don't go home and wait for it. You take it now and it never sets, because once it sets in, then it gets into your lungs. It starts in your bronchioles for like 3 days and you can deal with it then. And if they deal with it and catch it then before it sort of sets in, before your body's immune system kind of goes haywire on it, then all his patients were fine. And it's like $20 worth of medication and it's old stuff. Well, it's the zinc and the antibiotics and the chloroquine or whatever it is. That stuff's old. It's been around and it's pretty well tested. So those three, the zinc will get it. It's a kind of interesting thing, which is the zinc will go after the coronavirus, and the hydroxychloroquine will open it up to get the zinc in to go after it. And then the antibiotic is what you just take after. You take it so that when your body kind of goes after it, you can ride out. And it's kind of a first, second, and third stage. They're not all working at once. But it's very interesting. He's had a very high batting average with it. And it seems like, he's making these proclamations like, if we can get these drugs, everyone can just go back to work in 2 days, because if anything comes up, you just get on it and that's it. So,
and we keep talking about ventilators. Ventilators are scary. People don't seem to you don't always come off of a ventilator. So anything
they're
to avoid
talking about long-term damage from ventilators.
Oh, sure.
From this. So the whole point is don't let it set in and go through you. If you feel anything, get on this triple cocktail and push push it out fast.
Sounds good. Well, here's another possibility that talk about having someone on to talk about this. I would love to have someone on for this. So, there's all these different methods that people are trying to figure out who has it, who doesn't, especially when you're asymptomatic. Well, now a group of researchers in London are teaching dogs how to sniff out this virus. And that might sound silly.
I was just saying this to Christy. I'm like, why don't we have COVID sniffing dogs?
It's a thing. I mean, we've done it with malaria, diabetes, the flu, cancers, and now they're trying to train these dogs quickly because there's a whole process to get that done. And researchers believe that they may have dogs ready to begin these smell tests in as little as 6 weeks. They could do 250 people a day. I mean, if they could smell money in August duffel bag, they could smell a virus.
Right.
I've been talking about this since the love line. I said venereal sniffing dogs. I always said there should be venereal sniffing dogs. I said there should be cancer sniffing dogs. Everything smells like something.
Right.
Everything that your body does biologically kind of has a smell to it. Sometimes you can smell it. You can smell it when someone's tooth is infected or pussy or some whatever. But a dog can smell a joint packed in coffee grounds and welded into a truck fender at the Tijuana border. That dog could smell this or any form of cancer or many things out. And I've always said it. I've said it as a joke, but I always meant it 20-something years ago.
It's crazy. It was especially expected with like COVID, like something that manifests in the lungs and you would ostensibly breathe in and out. Like that would, as opposed to brain cancer or something. Like it's right there. Like you're smelling your breath. I would imagine a dog could.
Yeah, I used to kid around that if I had a party, invited a lot of young ladies over, I just put the dog sitting down right by the door. And so the ladies walked by in their mini skirts. If he started running in a circle, that was a sign.
I need an ointment.
We have the Phil. Sorry.
Oh, you have what?
No, I want you to say it. I'll tell people we have the Phil Hendry call from November 1999. But go ahead, Gina.
Well, I was just going to say this doesn't come up very often. I think I've mentioned this on this show maybe twice in 5.5 years. But this always makes me think of the cat of death that we've talked about. That at that nursing home, they would always be afraid that the cat was like the house cat at the nursing home, and if that cat came and laid on your bed, that meant you were going to die. And everybody, of course, thinks, does the cat, the cat's killing people. And that's, well, of course not. The cat could smell some sort of decay in the body. And for whatever reason, wanted to comfort the human, liked the smell, who knew? But it's animals. Hungry. Yeah. Oh, God. But between your crows and these dogs, we are far behind in what we could be doing.
All right. We'll play the Phil Hendry audio from November 1999.
800-449-8686. RC?
Yeah.
I guess we have AdamCarolla here on the line. I have no way of knowing for sure. Adam?
Yes, Phil.
How are you?
I'm good.
Yeah, this is him. Yeah, this is him.
Okay. Yeah. And I know you got to go do a Loveline show here in about, 8 minutes?
Yeah.
So why are you hanging on the phone with us here?
Well, I was listening to you on the ride in, Phil, and RC makes some pretty valid points, and he's been getting a lot of flack from a lot of your callers, and I'm here to defend the lad.
The Man Show. Yeah, The Man Show. Number 18 most influential on the thing.
And not only do I want to back you on the Man Show, RC, but Linda Lavin. A surprise call, but a good call, a very strong call. Phil, a lot of your callers argued about Linda Lavin's merits, but let me tell you, not only was she the star of that show, she sung the theme song.
What the hell was that theme song? Alice? I don't know how it goes.
Early to bed.
Oh, she was she sang that, huh?
And at the end, she scatted. And there's not a lot of white women who scat.
Now,
so I think that puts her on the list.
Yeah. Hey, I want to ask you, Adam, who was the redheaded one what played Flo? She's one of the most influential, too.
Yeah, she should at least, I think she should bump Daisy Fuentes down to 20.
Right.
Got to take 19.
And put that redheaded chick on.
That's right.
Good luck with the show, The Man Show, with Jimmy Kimmel, right?
Yes.
And one of these nights I'm going to get to see all this TV that I can't see because I'm, like you, I'm up late,
I know, Phil. We miss all the good programming.
Adam, thank you.
Thank you very much for taking my call. Peace out!
Nice.
That was R.C. Collins. Now, for those who are uninitiated, that's Phil doing both voices. That's why it's funny.
That sounds like it's overlapping, and your brain can't catch up.
Well, it's an interesting thing, which is his thing is he would argue with people who called into the show, but they were arguing with both guests,
right?
And Phil would moderate, but the guests would say horrible things. But the thing that I always found interesting, even when I'd listened to the show 20 years ago, from a sociological standpoint, the way he would coax people into calling in, and he was in the business of agitating people. They had to call in. They were angry. They were, how dare you say this? All he would have to do is play his female character who lived in a double-gated community and had a young son. And all she would have to do is explain why her son was better than your kids because they were rich and they were affluent, and that he deserved a better education and a safer life because they were rich and they were white and they lived in an affluent community. And people would immediately call in and start screaming, I'm a mother. I'm a single mother. You mean your boy is better than my boy because I'm single and because I'm not rich? And he would explain, yes, it's true. He deserves a better life. All you have to do is give anyone just one little ounce of shame or because they'd always call in and explain that they were laid off and they were divorced and their kid had to go to public school. Just give them a little taste of that class warfare and they go ballistic. That's the way to do it. Now, if someone would call in, if one of his characters would just say, oh, I'm not doing so well, my kid's not doing so well, and we're struggling, no one would be provoked to call in. You just have to explain why you're better. And then everyone goes berserk and calls in. Now, I don't know who that person is who's like driving their car and hears somebody bragging about doing better, who has to pull over and call in frantically and defend their lifestyle. But there's a lot of them out there.
Do you think there were more back then? Are we burnt out on that now?
No, I think now we have more now.
Yeah.
Fewer radio shows.
That's true.
Well, if you think about it, here's all you have to know. Think about every politician and every celebrity trying to round down on any success financially they have or financial success they came from. Like it is a theme. If you have except for Trump, of course. Well, even Trump tries to round his dad down and then, build himself up. Sure. Everyone has to round everyone down. And so like you talk about, if you hear celebrities talk, they'll go like, well, my dad owned a fleet of cross-continental shipping container ships that they called him the Greek tycoon. And then they'll pause and he'll go, but we were middle class. We were middle class. I mean, a little upper. We worked long days. Yeah, everyone went to work, and like they catch themselves a little bit. They'll go, we were middle class. So when we were growing up, people were putting on a dress and putting on a suit, even if it's their only suit and their only dress, and they were trying to round up. Right. They're like, pretend like we have this. Like half the sitcoms I saw growing up were like, oh, we got to pretend like we have more. Now everyone's rounding down, and that says something, because if you round up, everyone's scared for that target. I'll give you an example. Every fifth show I used to see 20 years ago was a tour of a celebrity's house. Like, oh, he has an indoor jacuzzi in the master suite, and there's a saltwater fish tank, and blah, blah, blah. Not so much anymore.
Oh, no.
Yeah, where'd cribs go?
Cribs wouldn't work today.
We don't see. There used to be, and it wasn't just cribs. It was just lifestyles of the rich and famous, or just whatever. It's just
caviar dreams.
It's just welcome into Morgan Fairchild welcomes you into her home. Oh, that's palatial. Look at this staircase. in an entry. Not anymore.
You're absolutely right, because now it's not like a celebration, it's a gotcha. Because when people say like an expose on Oprah's estate in Carmel, it's supposed to be shaming, and we got you, and look what we found out about you.
It's like, yeah, she's worth $1 billion. Of course she has an estate.
Nancy Pelosi went to her freezer, and everyone was like, that's a $24,000 freezer. What are you doing with that freezer in your house? Like, you cannot have anything. Everyone just drives a Prius and won't tell you where they live. And I know, because I'm an architecture building guy. So I have said to like celebrity friends, like, hey, you did this big remodel. You did this really cool thing in your house. Can we go do like a little walkthrough or an expose? And it's like, I don't want to get into trouble.
Right.
It's like, oh, I don't know. You're a celebrity. You're rich. Why wouldn't you have a nice home? Like, what do you mean get into trouble? It's like,
people don't like that.
Yeah.
Warren Buffett was a trailblazer, still in his split ranch house.
I know. All right, let's do one more, Gina.
All right. Well, somebody would very much like to get out of prison, and somebody did get out of prison. I'll just tell these two real quick. Michael Cohen did get out early. He was, of course, the famous lawyer of Donald Trump. He'll be released from prison because of concerns of the coronavirus spreading. He's in an upstate New York correctional facility. He was supposed to get out November 2021, but they're going to let him out on May 1st after a 14-day quarantine because of all this virus mishigas.
He's a winner. He's a winner of the quarantine.
He's a COVID winner. Now, someone we don't know if they're going to be a winner, but doubtful. Bill Cosby would very much like to be released from prison over this. In a statement to NBC News, his spokesman, Andrew Wyatt, said Cosby, who's 82, recently had partially blocked arteries, is blind from glaucoma, takes medication for high blood pressure, recently had 2 major surgeries. He added, we're asking Governor Wolf to amend his executive order and grant Mr. Cosby compassionate relief based on his current medical status. And Cosby was convicted in 2018 of sexual assault. You know, we know the whole story. But he's in Pennsylvania State Prison. 22 inmates, 13 staff members have contracted the virus. And Wyatt says Mr. Cosby was given a life sentence, not a life or death sentence. So we'll see what happens with that.
You know, I guess I would have to be consistent in that anyone, if I feel I want to take my inmate population and I want to break them down into, first things first, could you possibly do harm to anyone on the outside? Mm-hmm. I need to know. That's my first criteria for looking at that. And then the second thing is what did you do and how much do you need to be punished? You know? So I don't think the attorney is going to hurt anybody. So he didn't rape anyone, except for, you know, maybe the tax board or something. So I'm much more apt to let those guys out than I am of the Cosbys. But there's a version, because now Cosby's costing us money, and he's in there, and if he gets sick, he's going to go into the hospital ward, and he's going to cost us more money. I'm all right with some version of him being miserable for the rest of his life while he makes restitution. I just don't know how to enforce it and how we do that. You know what I mean? Like,
well, what about...
If someone could say to me, he's not going to cost us $75,000 a year in this, in this double secret ward where he needs protection and, whatever he's costing us, he's not going to cost us anything. He's going to get out. He's going to make restitution to his victims, but he's not going to be able to drink scotch and watch Sports Center.
Right.
If there's some version of that, I would be down with it.
What about Weinstein? Does it matter if you just got there or not? Because he's nowhere near done. He still has to do it here.
No, if I could be assured that somehow their life would just be purgatory, where they made restitution and in fact weren't costing the taxpayers tens of thousands of dollars a year, I would be okay with it. I just don't know what that world is or how we enforce it. But if there was some magic wand, then I would ostensibly be okay with everyone who did not pose a physical danger to everyone to be miserable. And first things first, their reputation is Cosby, and I don't know who fell further, Cosby or Weinstein, but either way,
Cosby.
Their destruction. Okay, Cosby, because Weinstein was known as an asshole.
He was way.
But he had juice. But either way, their lives are destroyed. Their reputation, we don't talk enough about a reputation, but that's
legacy.
It's all you have.
Yeah,
I mean, you'll never be able to. 100 years after Bill Cosby's dead and Weinstein's dead, you won't be able to say anything other than this is going to be the top 3 paragraphs of every wiki and IMDb page they have, and then we'll get to whatever else. All right, Gina, let's bring it home, shall we?
You got it. I'm Gina Grad, and that's the news.
Gina Grad. That was the news with Gina Grad.